Episode 23, Cliff Notes, originally posted February 11, 2013. I've always believed that a main reason why the Transformers as a brand survived all these years is that from the very beginning they established good characters with distinct and memorable personalities. While almost every iteration always had the heroic Prime and ruthless Megatron, you also had in many cases more interesting secondary characters like the traitorous Starscream, the emotionless Soundwave, the underdog Bumblebee, the rough and tough gruff veteran Ironhide, and the list goes on and on. But one of my favorites will always be the delusional Cliffjumper. Okay, so maybe calling him delusional is a bit harsh, but really, how else would you describe a robot who is only slightly bigger than Bumblebee, who would rush straight up to Megatron on his own and threaten to beat him down? In another instance, during a scouting and spying mission against direct orders from Prime, he fancied himself an expert marksman and decided he could take down Megatron with a single headshot from quite a distance. And despite protests from his co-spy Hound, he went through with it, took the shot, and missed, effectively blowing their cover and getting Hound injured as they ran away pursued by the enemy. Yeah, from the start, he was established as an irrationally overconfident bot who didn't really make the best decisions, much to the detriment of his teammates. But it's this brash cockiness that basically endeared me to the character. He was like the little bot with big balls, and unfortunately, little brains. I'm sure we've come across people like that in our own lives, and if you can get past being irritated by them or snickering behind their backs, they somehow in a way might end up impressing you with their over-gutsiness. Plus, his character was voiced by the very recognizable Casey Kasem of America's Top 40 fame, so that made him even more memorable. Anyway, through the years, Cliffjumper didn't catch on as much as his fellow mini-bot Bumblebee, who at this point has become one of the most iconic faces of the brand. On the flip side, Cliffjumper has become sort of an underappreciated and often forgotten sibling. Although his original toy was similar to Bumblebee, they were both totally different molds who transformed into two different cars. But through the years, in Hasbro's attempt to maybe save a buck, most of the succeeding Cliffjumper toys have been simple straight-up red Bumblebee repaints with, if we were lucky, a different head. This all changed in 2010 when Hasbro announced their latest Transformers cartoon, Transformers Prime, and Cliffjumper was announced to be part of the main Autobot cast. When the first character concepts came online, fans were pleasantly surprised to see that finally, Cliffjumper got his own unique design, and it was a really good one. He was a souped-up version of his original character, transforming into an old-style muscle car complete with steer horns on the hood. And to make things even sweeter for Cliffjumper, news broke out that he would be voiced by another famous celebrity, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So for a while, things were looking quite good for old Cliffy, and that he would finally be getting some recognition. Unfortunately, it all turned out too good to be true. I guess it should have been a warning sign that they did cast The Rock as Cliffy's voice. I mean, why would a major movie star sign up to do a voice in a cartoon? Well, it would have to be that he was a huge fan of the show, or his kids made him do it, or it was just a case of stunt casting, and unfortunately, it was the latter. Barely 5 minutes into the episode, Cliffy encounters an Energon stockpile and, true to his character, decides to check it out without waiting for any backup. As a result, he's ambushed by Decepticons and basically outnumbered as one would predict, and it doesn't end well for poor Cliffy. He's defeated and taken prisoner and brought before Starscream. Only this time, he isn't so lucky. In what can only be seen as an attempt by the writers to show that this new cartoon means business, Starscream punctures Cliffy's chest with his bare hands and kills him. And that would have been the end of him, except the writers weren't quite done. Later on in the same episode, as part of one of Megatron's gruesome experiments, Cliffjumper's corpse is revived using Dark Energon. Unfortunately, I seem to be writing unfortunately a lot in this entry. Unfortunately, what we get isn't Cliffjumper that we all know and love, but a zombie Cliffjumper, who then proceeds to mindlessly attack the nearest Decepticon to him and continues on in his rampage until Megatron slices him in half. And that should have been the end of him, but no. Even later on, the Autobots attempt to rescue Cliffy, who they think is still alive, only to find his still living zombified top half. Realizing that his rescue is a lost cause, they evacuate the Decepticon base, which is basically blowing up all around them, leaving the half-zombie Cliffjumper to finally be blown to bits. Phew. Talk about kicking a guy when he's down. Really down. Fortunately for us, Hasbro didn't let a minor fact like being dead get in the way of us fans getting a new toy. When the first wave of Transformer Prime toys were revealed, there was the new and unique Cliffjumper toy in all its plastic glory. And as if trying to placate us even further by killing off Cliff in such an over-the-top manner, they even gave us a zombie Cliffjumper as well. Since his short existence on Prime, it looked like Cliffjumper was in danger of becoming the Transformers version of Kenny from South Park, the inferior red version of Bumblebee that just gets killed off. As was the case in 2018's live-action Bumblebee movie, where Cliff made a quick, unfortunate cameo. He was captured by the Decepticons, interrogated, then quickly cleaved in half for his troubles. Fortunately, at least on the toy front, Cliffy has been getting a little more love as we've gotten fairly decent Cliffjumper toys that weren't just cheap Bumblebee repaints. We got a very nice G1-inspired version as part of 2020's War of Cybertron Siege line, and on the Masterpiece front, third-party company Ace Collectibles gave us Tumblr in 2016. But this guy was more of a reshell of the official MP Bumblebee, and thanks to poor QC, Tumblr was basically a glorified placeholder until we got a better option down the road, which we did get a few years later with X-Transbot's version called Toro. This is my current MP Cliffjumper, and while he's not perfect, he's the best version of what we've got available for us right now. Although, a much better looking option from Fans Toys looks to be just around the corner, and while it hasn't been formally announced, thanks to leaked prototype images, it does seem that an official release from Takara Tomy is also imminent. So it's really good to see old Cliffy finally getting a lot of love, and hopefully soon he can step completely out of his yellow Autobot brother's shadow. So that's all the notes I've got on Cliffjumper. Here's to hoping he survives the next Transformer iteration he's in, or at least comes back in the next Bumblebee movie, as a zombie. Thanks for watching Stories from the Toy Shelf Redux. For more stories, please subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell for updates. Until the next one.